Hello, this is Pretty Roxas here. Today we talk about Fate Grand Order. This is basically a guide to prepare for the global version coming out in summer 2017. So right here we have the triangle of the classes and their weaknesses. So the first is the main free knight classes, which is Saber, Archer, and Lancer. So Saber is strong against Lancer, Lancer is strong against Archer, Saber is weak to Archer, and Saber is strong against Lancer, and Lancer is strong against Archer. Berserker basically is strong against everything except for Shooter. It's neutral damage, and anything else is weak against it too. So it's basically they're mostly strength and power. They deal high damage, but they have low survivability though. Except for maybe one Berserker though. You can survive very much. And we have the free knight, not free knights, but free horsemen, assassin, caster, and rider. Same thing. They're basically rider is strong against caster is strong against assassin, and assassin is strong against rider. So this is another triangle weakness. And then we have the extra class weakness. So we have ruler, avenger, and moon cancer. So these are basically another one. And then we have alter ego, which is weak against the knight class and strong against the free horseman. Shooter has no weakness. It basically deals neutral damage, and they take neutral damage from Berserker also too. So this is classes in the game. Next up we have St. Quartz. This is basically your summoning money, I guess. You basically pay or get it weekly or daily. You can get it for quests and daily missions. But most people refuses to use it to revive. And basically when you have all your servants killed in battle, you have the option to use either your St. Quartz or use free command seals. But they usually refuse. But it basically revives all your fallen servants to fight again. So this right here. If defeated in battle with 2 or fewer command spells available, revive your party at full health with 100 double phantasm gauge. They are usually events to give them out, and sometimes they'll have announcements for basically awarding for how much downloads are given. Or like after 50 days you'll get like 20 of them. So you really need to either save or keep using it. It's your choice. Next up we have summoning tickets. This basically allows you to get a free summon in the summoning gacha. Basically you use it and then you can summon one. Just one. But they usually restock monthly. So you really want to get this. And you can get some of them in events. Sometimes they give out during like daily logins. This is basically your EXP card. You use this to feed your servants to get like EXP, like so they can level up. These are strengthening. One is for HP and the other is for attack. So basically you can trade it for them. They cost Prism. Basically you do the daily missions. They usually gives these mana Prism. Next we have Command Seal. Now most people probably don't use them, but you can use Command Seal. They'll recover like basically like after 3 days or so, or maybe earlier. Basically you can use one to heal one of your servant, or you can have it fill 100% of your Noble Phantasm gauge. Sometimes you can use free command seal to revive your entire party also too. Like it says, command speed regenerate at a rate of 1 per day at 12 o'clock GST. You cannot have more than 3 command speed at a time. They restock so you don't have to worry about it. Next up we have your Craft Sense. You'll mostly get them in Gacha or your friend point Gacha. So most of the time, during the early game, you'll probably want Kaleidoscope. This BC give you 80% of your no phantom gauge, so it's pretty good to use this one. Or you can have this 4-star one, which is also great too. This one may be weaker, but it's still useful too. And then we have different variants, like for example, there's MP gain, basically like the amount of attack they will gain more to fill your MP gauge. Like this one is probably one of the most valuable one during Halloween. And then you have for damage, some of them deal like spamming their Noble Phantoms for pure damage. For example, the Black Rails is probably one of the strongest one for it. And there's command cards, like you see there's Arts, Buster, and Quick, and you see those three. So one few ones starting is Imagine Around. Is one strong for Quick one. Then there's Arts, which has Formacraft, which is for Arts. Arts usually spamming Nova Phantasm. Quick is mostly about critical attacks, I guess. Buster is for pure damage, so you'll probably want to get Limit over 0 or Victor from the Moon. This is Buster in critical. Now most people ignore these defense one, but they're very useful in the late game. They probably won't be needed right now, but you probably need it in the future. For example, this one is very strong against male opponents. This basically gives your defense very high against male units. Most of the time you'll be facing male units, so this one is very valuable. You can also use Steel Training. Most people think this is basically a troll graphic sense, but it's actually useful too. So basically these two are very good to use for defense. And now we have the revive ones. This one is probably one of the most early ones, Necromancy. It has some sort of percentage, but you basically use it to keep reviving. It's sort of like Hercules' God Hands revive. So basically depends on luck. So basically you can revive as many times as you want if they die. But you probably want to use this when you have one resurgence left. Probably a berserker like Hercules. So then you can like stop your opponent from using their battle command cards. It's quite useful, this one. The other ones are probably very far in the future, so you probably have to wait for them. In the future, you'll probably face some servants that keep spamming evasion or invulnerability. Basically, these are some craft sense you can use to ignore their like evasion or invulnerable. It's very annoying facing against them. From my experience, I recommend this one. This basically gives you critical start if you're using a critical team. I suggest you to use this one. For damage, you want to use probably this one, Knight's Pride, but it gives a high weakness though. It's for critical damage. Next up, we have basically the buffs. So this one's is quick up. This basically increases the quick. This is down. This is up for arts. This is up and down. This is for more attack power. And this attack down. This power up anti-trait, basically for a certain type like male, female, dragons, or their attribute. There is man, sky. I don't really care about those, but basically the classes matter to me. Damage plus against some sort of one. Then there's damage cut, defense up. More buffs. Increased any damage received. More debuffs, instant kills, critical star rate, MP gain is probably useful. Lose MP each turn, not great. MP power up, this basically increases your Nova Phantom's damage. This is lower it. Critical rate up, it's useful. Debuff, nah, don't really care. MP charge rate, this is very valuable. You need it to spam MPs in recharging. Some of them have very low MP gauge rate up. Star absorption. Basically, they get more stars absorbed, so then they probably can like attack more often. down debuff, HP recovery amount up. Basically, can heal more higher with it. There's this invasion. This is the most annoying buff for your opponent. And also, when you fight a boss that keeps spamming this, it's very annoying. This is basically able to attack with even if they have evasion. Another annoying buff if your opponent has it too, but it's very good also. These two are very annoying. Invulnerability break, this basically pierces this. Don't know why sometimes it pierces that one too. Then there's taunt. This one, it's actually useful since you probably have some tanks that can help you use taunt, so maybe you can target that one instead. I guess it's okay, this one. BC healing each turn, it's great. HP up, BC you can make your team more tanky, I guess. This is revive. There's few characters getting revived very often, and there's the craft essence, like necromancy. And others. This basically makes them they can't debuff you often. This basically makes them immune to buffs. This delay basically will, after some turn, I never knew this dragon trait. Poison sometimes is actually good. Curse, meh, just sort of like burn also too. Charm, charm is very useful against males, but for females, not so much. But you usually want to use like the Gorgon sisters to keep charming your male enemies. It's actually useful. Bind, basically all these are the same. Skill seal, very annoying if it's on you. It makes your support unable to use your skill. MP seal so that you can't use your no phantasm. Okay, so now we'll go on to the servants. First we have our main character, Mash, Kirlight. So basically she'll start off as a 3-star. Her role is mostly a tanker, so the first skill is increased defense, very useful. Second skill is basically makes one of your allies or yourself, any unit can be invulnerable. And the first skill is taunt, so then they'll have your enemies target her instead. It's quite useful. Then there's their 4-star version, which will become very later in the future update, but it won't be early though. Her Nova Phantasm basically increased defense and reduced damage received for free turns. It's very useful in tank teams and surviving longer. So our first 5-star is Artoria Pendragon. Basically, you know her as Saber in Fate Stay Night. So about her, she's mostly attack, but I usually use her basically as a farming for EXP. So basically you equip her with a Camelot scope, so then you have 80% Nova Phantasm gauge, and then you use some support to make her have 100, then you can, it's a AOE effect, so you can have all against it. And it's Buster. Buster deals a lot of damage, but since it's AOE, it will probably deal less damage than a single target one. This one is also AOE too. Next we have Artoria Pendragon Altar. This is basically a story lock servant, but sometimes there's an event you can summon her. She's basically the same as the vanilla version, but she's actually great as the original too. There's not that much difference, but their stats is just different. Some probably think the altar version is better than the vanilla one. Next we have Artoria Pendragon Lily, Saber Lily. I don't use her, but she's probably basically the same, but much weaker than the altar version though. You basically get her for free during the pre-register, and you can also get her if you miss her, you can get her in the Saber Wars event, which will be very far, probably in January. Then we have the Red Saber Neoclodius from Fate Extra. She is mostly an arts one. This thing, it's AoE, and she basically sort of like a survival unit. Basically, she has free revives, which is pretty nice, and she has a heal and can recover HP. So you basically try to use her like a tank or something. Next up, we have Siegfried. Him, I don't think you should use him, except for using him during the first chapter against dragons. That's only he's useful against him. So I'm really sorry, but he's really sorry for being weak. Then we have Caesar. I don't really use him, but I guess he's a critical type unit. Next up we have Altera, which is your next 5-star. She is quite great. She has Nova Phantasm gauge up, and then have natural body that increases her HP and star absorb. It's quite great too. And attack, critical attack. Has divine ability to increase her damage. And her Nova Phantasm is AoE, and it decreases your opponent's defense too. She's really okay. She's probably stronger than Artoria Pendragon, but she's a really good unit. Gil's Rays, I think he's from Fate Zero. Caster, but I think he's pretty crap, so I don't think I really need to use him. Eon, I'm not sure, but I guess this character is generalist, so you probably don't know if it's a he or she, but he or she has like mostly the buff as her Nova Phantasm. It depends if you want to use it or not. I don't know. Then we have Archer from Fate Stay Night. He's okay. Basically, he's similar to Gilgamesh, and he has basically a critical. He's a critical buster type, and his Nova Phantasm is AoE as well. And it reduces their attack also if you have overcharge against it too. Next up we have Gilgamesh, your limited first 5-star archer. Him? Depends. But he has a great skill set. Basically, one is attack for all your allies. Second is enemy game. I find it pretty bad. Next, we have Collector X. Basically, give him like stars, and then you have upgrade that gives him increased MP gauge, so you can spam near his Nova Phantasm. There will be soon for upgrade for him. Basically, one for his Collector X to Treasure Babylon, which increases his MP gauge. And then he has critical damage increase as his passive. This basically has strong against some units that are weak to this Nova Phantasm, and it has an upgrade that increases his Nova Phantasm damage too, which is soon coming later in future. But that will be probably late in the Fate Zero event, which will be very far. Next up we have Robin Hood. He's sort of like a boss nuker. He's pretty great. Basically you poison your enemy and then you use his Nova Phantasm and then you'll take a huge amount of damage. That's the only purpose I can see him being used. But he's quite great as a 3-star too. Since most people probably won't be able to roll 5-star, but he's quite great. Atlanta, she's mostly just providing your allies quick buffs, and also giving you critical stars for your crit. She's mostly like a crit archer for quick types. Rail, your 3-star archer. I recommend you use this unit since you'll need it during late game against male units. Basically, if you use her sisters and then keep spamming Alluring Void, you can charm your male enemy quite a lot, and then if you're able to spam her Nova Phantasm, you can keep them locked stun, and they won't be able to do anything. She's a very great archer to use for a 3-star, and since 3-stars are very easy to summon, summoning her will be very great for your party. Then we have our 1-star archer. Now about him, it depends, since using him is quite difficult, since if you use no Phantasm, he basically dies, but in order to use him, you need to think of a strategy to make your team be able to make him live, and able to use Nova Phantasm to deal a lot of damage. But basically, his Nova Phantasm deals a lot of damage, almost like a 4-star or 5-star, but you need to think of tactics to keep him alive, or keep reviving him. For example, you can equip him with Necromancy, and he could just keep spamming his Nova Phantasm, but you need to keep him alive though, since he has very low HP. This basically allows him to recover more MP gauge, but you only get that skill during his Strength quest, which will be a bit far in the future too, sadly. Then we have your Lancer, who keeps dying in the Carter Phantasm series. So basically, Lancers always have bad luck, but he's very great in this game though, because he has a revive for 5 turns, but the 5 turn basically is the buff applied to him, but after it takes a bit, it will disappear, so it's pretty good. And then we have protection from arrows. This is the main skill that makes him very great, since he has a lot of high survivability. So using him on a team is quite great. Even in late game, he's great too. Now his first skill, I don't really care. Then we have Elizabeth Bathory, the Lancer from Fate Express CCC. Her first skill is basically a buff attacks for her allies, and her second is an upgrade, which makes it bonus for females unit. And her second skill is Torture, which is quite great too, and then the third is Revive. Her MP is AoE, and it also gives crit damage. It's sort of like Burn. She's quite alright, but you use her along with like the female 5-stars, you can deal massive damage for your support from your friends. For example, Artoria or like any 5-star female units. Benkei, I don't know much about him. Kuchunin prototype, sort of like the original one, but this is one against strong against beasts, but he's almost the same as this one. Then we have Leonidas. He's a tank. Basically, you can use him to stall some against strong enemy in late game. Basically, you equip the defense Crepiscence on him and he'll be immortal. Or you can have some team that helps him quite a lot. He's very great late game. Realmless, I don't know much about him either. Medusa, use her with her sister and I guess you can lock your opponent. George, you use him as a support to make them taunt. His main purpose is taunting, which is very nice skill to use. Then you have your pedophile pirate. His only purpose is basically for memes and recovering HP for female units. I don't see much use for him, but he's mostly for memes. I think this unit's for tanking, I guess. This unit is quite okay. Alright, this is okay too. She's probably early game, but fighting against her non-playable unit, but you see your enemy, if she keeps spamming this, it gets very annoying. Basically, as a boss, she's very annoying to keep spamming this skill. Unit's okay, basically support for dragons. Medea basically is your main unit for debuffing buffs, and she can spam her Nova Phantasm quite often. This basically fills her MP gauge fast, and second skill is heal. And this piece's first skill was remove debuffs from your allies. And your Nova Phantasm basically debuffs everything, and you can increase your MP gauge quite often. She's quite good in Art's team. Next we have Gills, which is a story lock servant. Basically you need to clear chapter 1 in order to get him. But he's not that great, but it really depends if you want to use him or not. You can use him for memes. Then we have Anderson. This is from the Frame Point Gacha. He's actually quite great because he's mostly a healer and gives your allies critical attacks. And he also gives you like some defense. He's quite great in any team. You can use him quite often. He's very nice to use. Then you have William Shakespeare, which provides you mostly, I guess, Buster buffs. He's okay. Mephistos, I don't know, but I guess you can just use him against the final boss of the first season 1 to get rid of his buff. I only can see him purposes of doing that. Mozart's basically for helping against your allies' arts, which is quite great since it's for all allies, so you use him for arts. Then we have Waver, which I recommend you have any friends that has him, add him, since he keeps refilling your MP gauge, and you can use him quite often. And his MP reduces your opponent's MP gauge, which is quite nice, and sometimes it stuns them too. So I recommend you use this 5-star. He's very useful. If you don't have him, then use Anderson instead. This is the caster, which is Lancer, changed into caster in the anime. Basically him, he's alright, but you only can get him after you clearing the prologue. Next up we have Sasuke Kojuro, basically an assassin from Fate Stay Night. He has evasion, and second skill gives him critical stars, and the third is piercing evasion, and it sure hits against evasion too. I recommend you use him during in Orleans or France, and No Phantoms gives him critical stars, and it's very strong too. And his nickname is Saber of France, and I recommend you use him in all stages. He is very powerful. And his other nickname is Regend. So even if you're in late game, like near the final boss, I still suggest you use him for memes. Then we have True Assassin from Fate Stay Night Heaven's Field Route. He's alright too. You can also use him in France too. Basically you use him against the dragons. Stano, another Gorgon sister, she basically helps divine units and also charming. Basically you want to use her along with Aureo to lock against male units, but they usually say she's bad and her sister 3 stars is even better than her. But basically if you want to use her, use it along with her sisters. Jinkei, I didn't use her that often, but it's a Jennifer servant, and it's only good for early game, I guess. No comment. No comment. A debuffer. Camelot basically strong against female units, and her MP gain is very high, so you can probably spam her effect. She's pretty good against female units, and is single target too. She's basically Elizabeth from the future, who like turned into serial killer. And then we have Berserker from Fate Stay Night Hercules. For him, you can use him in every stage, and he's very strong too. So I recommend you use him quite often for support, but only if you can survive with him, or else it'll be a win-lose situation. You can use an all Berserker team, but it's very risky. and it deals very high. He's almost as strong as a 5-star servant too. He has attack buff, evasion, and a revive. But you can equip necromancy on him to make him sort of like the Steam Knight Hercules and have the God Hand effect, but that's only some percentage though. Then we have Berserker from Fate Zero, which is Lancelot. He's a critical type. You basically use him for farming dailies, and you can use him for high critical damage too. Debut, I don't know. Then we have Spartacus, who is a meme servant. You basically want to use him to basically for trolling or something, or use it for memes. He basically has lots of reviving healing, which is very annoying. And we have Kingzuki, who is basically your another limited 5-star berserker, and he does single target, which is very early game, and it's quite useful too. Basically discharges his MP gauge, and his second is healing and attack. Quite useful for early game. Then we have Vlad. He's not that great, but if you use him in an arts team, along with some other arts that helps him spamming, you can probably spam his Noble Phantasm quite often too. Then we have Asterios, who basically, he's sort of like a late gamer, and you can also like troll the final boss with him. His Noble Phantasm reaches for 6 turns. It's very strong too, but since he's a berserker, he can die very easily. So you want to use him like that. Then we have Caligula. I don't know much about him. Then we have Darius the Third, which is another berserker. I don't know much about him. Kiyohime, pretty strong, and you can also use it for farming dailies. You can also use him for farming dailies too. Eric Blood Axe, you can use him to basically debuffing your opponent's attack, I guess. Tamakat, basically farming dailies again, I guess. Then we have Jane, who basically is a tank, who is only good in early game, but right now they consider her very terrible because of the other support that came out that overshadowed hers right now. They say she's very terrible, but with the new class, they say she might be great again. And then we have Aurion, who basically is the anti-male unit. Your defense basically decreases your opponent's MP gauge. She's strong against male units. Basically not Aurion. Aurion is actually the bear. Her true name is Artemis. Then we have Elizabeth Bathory, who is Halloween. Quite similar to the Lancer version, but except she has different skill set though. And you can basically, she has a Buster, Critical, and Revive. And lastly, we have Tabamono Mai. She basically is very useful for arts, and you can use her in any arts team. And her Noble Phantasm is quite great in any team. Basically, it recovers your HP and your MP gauge, and it reduces skill cooldown, which is very useful in late game. So this is the servants I'll talk about, since they're probably the most early ones you'll see so far. I won't talk about the other ones, but you can see the tier list currently, or like before. Next we have Extension Max. This basically upgrades your level. For example, you see the levels needed for each extension. Now the most annoying thing about Ascension is you need to farm materials, and some of them cost money, and some of them cost like materials you need. Some of them you can farm in dailies, but most of the time, the most annoying ones, like for example this Phoenix Plum, it's very annoying to get. So in order to get these, often you need to play the events that comes often that provides these. So getting them is pretty annoying. And you also need these Ascension materials for upgrading your skill levels too. This blue KP is actually basically your in-game money. and these are basically the class materials. I'll scroll down into the extra class one, like ruler. Ruler is different. Let's see, set password. As you can see, ruler needs quite different pieces, like each classes, but each one's probably different. And these are the gold one is basically the higher level ones. You can find them in dailies. Okay, so now we talk about the 4-star rank list. So this is currently in Japan, so you'll probably know who's good and not. So basically your main character is EX, so she's pretty good to use. And then we have some event servants, which is Kintoki, which will be very far in the future. These are basically great ones. I won't talk much about them. But you can see these are the 4-star ones. And this is a trap. Then we have your 5-star. For some reason they call him a Grand Caster because he's pretty good in any team. Using along with him because he's EX. Then we have your 2 Buster attack ones. They're very great. He has great survivability and she has very high attack. And that's it for the tiers for 5-star and 4-star. I'll be going to the 3-star one now. So this is a 3-star, 2-star, and 1-star one. So basically, he's a nuker. This one's strong against melee units, and he's good for helping your ally survive AoE attacks. And he's has strong evasion. So these are tiers. And you can ignore why he's B rank, but he's actually quite useful. Last but not least, this will be very far in the game, but you should know that the Knights of Rounds are very cheating in this level. The most annoying Knights of Round is Gawain. You'll probably hate him quite often. That's why I said you need to level Aurion and her Gorgon sisters. Use Archer against him. He's pretty annoying in the game. Then we have Mordred, who spams her Noble Phantasm every turn, which is very annoying too. For this one, you probably need Evasion and also using Strong Attacker, which deal single target. That's the only way you can beat her. Using Evasion, basically, she will fill your ambi gauge quite often, since Noble Phantasm fills your Noble Phantasm gauge quite often, so using Evasion against her is quite useful. Then we have Tristan. Just use Saber against him. He's not that great. And we have Lancelot. Just use Avenger or Berserker against him. He's not that strong. Then we have Dio, who has 3 of them. He's okay. I don't really care about him. And then you have Artoria Lancer, who has high HP and is very tanky. And her No Phantasm ignores evasion, which is very strong too. So what you want to use is basically use Sori or Simonai or Mordred, and you can probably beat her since she's a Lancer class. And that's it for the Fate Grand Order Guide coming soon in the USA Global version.